dimes in practice drills, the number one defense can't stop them. People take notice of that, and the more that the players see it, they're gonna. Then the comments start happening over the lunch table. They start happening throughout the building, and that's when the pressure really will get severe.
Shedeur, you mentioned, what do they have next year in the draft?
2 first-round draft picks, their own pick and Jacksonville's pick.
It's got to play into it.
Given what we saw yesterday with Shedeur Sanders, somebody on the Cleveland Browns is 100% getting fired, probably by the end of this year. The person who's probably going to end up getting fired is Kevin Stefanski, because I know that he didn't want Shedeur Sanders on the team. It was Andrew Berry who made that pick. You can't really go against your GM. Bad things happen in this situation. But Shedeur Sanders is not without fault for what we saw yesterday. This is the play that we saw yesterday that has the internet just exploding, where Shedeur Sanders took like a 24-yard sack. Half of the internet is saying that this is all Kevin Stefanski's fault.
The people what they want.
For sure. I mean, listen, what do I want to watch? I want to watch Shedeur Sanders.
Who doesn't want to watch that? The world wants to see him go out there and not only play, but have success. At this point, guys are rooting for him. This isn't anything against Dylan. This isn't anything against Joe. I'm just saying the excitement is there for him to go out there. He's going to put eyes on the screen. He is going to bring people to the game. It is what it is, man. I would love to see it, man.
Help but wonder if everything is a test when it comes to Shedeur and the Browns. Not just how are you with your teammates, the playbook, all of that, but, you know, they were very upset about the speeding tickets. Obviously, that was a negative. You know, everything, you're being judged by every little thing, and the fact that he took himself out of practice because his arm is sore. Again, I'm not questioning how hurt he is, but if you're not injured and you do take yourself out, is he going to be judged on that?
We seen that miserable game by the Cleveland Browns. So they throw Joe Flacco in there, and I like Joe Flacco. He did good, but they gave him the resource of all the first-team guys. Then they throw Dillon Gabriel in there with first teams and second teams. So Dillon always is getting protected. The same thing again, they gave this scrub max protection on every play. Yeah, he completed some passes, but let's talk about his mistakes. He's still inconsistent with his throws, but he at least had max protection.
They were not going to start Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders in week 1. Kenny Pickett had a hamstring injury. It makes it easy to go with Joe Flacco. And the question isn't and wasn't going to be who's the starter in Cleveland. The question is who's going to be the backup in Cleveland. Who's going to be the number 2 quarterback when they open the season against these Bengals.
I also can't blame anybody who says, I don't necessarily trust this coaching staff to develop a quarterback or to evaluate the quarterback position. They have made some really oddball decisions at this position over the last several years, and I don't blame anybody for questioning, do these guys actually know what they're doing?
I don't think that's unfair at all. The thing I would say is that they're desperate. They're very desperate.
Path for him to get on the field earlier than where I see it at this point has to be with if one of the veteran quarterbacks during the Eagles and the Panthers just look bad, then all of a sudden they're like, oh, okay, well, let's see what we can do with this, and maybe he might earn the reps. And then the second big thing is he has to light it up when it comes to the preseason games. I told you, the dinking and dunking, where you at the pecking order at this point, that ain't gonna get it done. You have to turn eyeballs. You have to make plays. He's 40 years old. Let me tell you something. The only person I've seen ball after 40 is Tom Brady. At the end of the day, when you look at this, think about this. The Baltimore Ravens decided almost a decade ago he was washed. What are you talking about? They own a second quarterback. No disrespect, but Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders cannot possibly be as worse as what Joe Flacco is at this point. And guess what? Have a day, Cleveland Browns. Do yourself a favor. You already went with the youth movement. Turns out that half the best players on your team are rookies and young guys.
If you're a football fan, we clearly know what you did. We clearly know that the plays that you gave for Dillon Gabriel, throwing the check down underneath to make him look good. Same plays for Flacco. Then you throw Shedeur in the game with a tight end whose name ain't even on the roster, and some other players. And then you have them run long routes.
Shedeur Sanders is expected to start for the Cleveland Browns.
How about that?
Friday night in their preseason opener.
I'd be excited, obviously, if I'm a Browns fan. Like the fact that you get to see him, like that's fun. Like if you're a fan of that team, that's fun that you get to see this guy that is this huge polarizing figure, especially coming out of this NFL draft. I wonder if it's kind of a disservice to him though.
How?
Because he's been the fourth string quarterback, like, and you're just kind of throwing him in there. I don't know.
If I'm the fourth string quarterback and I get named the starter, I want it. How do you move up the depth chart?
That's true.
Throw Shedeur Sanders in there with the lowest cab drivers you couldn't even get on 5th Street. And I'm pissed off, bro, because the play calling was abysmal. Look, even if you don't like Shedeur didn't even get a chance to be trash. Even if you think Shedeur is garbage, he didn't even get a chance to be garbage. That's how awful the offensive line was. Kevin Stefanski still doesn't want to give Shedeur second strings and first strings reps. Why is that? Now, what's more horrible about this game was it was to the point on every single snap.
Couple days, 3 days until roster cutdowns. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like you belong here on this team?
Obviously. I think overall as a player, I feel like I put in the work. I feel like everything I do, I try to do it to my best, and that's all I ask for. So I feel like everybody feels like, they should be on the team. And if you ask anybody on the team, would they feel like they belong, in their own eyes. So I feel like I do, but I'm my own player. I think about myself in a high regard.
The story of Shedeur Sanders is one of the most fascinating, polarizing, and misunderstood sagas in recent NFL memory. A quarterback with the talent, pedigree, and confidence to match any prospect in his class. Yet somehow his draft night turned into a free fall that shocked the football world. Everyone expected Shedeur to go early. His tape spoke for itself. Elite pocket poise, touch, accuracy. The son of a Hall of Famer who'd spent years under the microscope and thrived under pressure. But when pick after pick rolled by and his name still hadn't been called, the conversation shifted. What went wrong? Whispers started to leak. Anonymous scouts talking about attitude. Anonymous executives describing him as entitled. Reports claiming his pre-draft interviews didn't go well, that teams didn't like his body language. No names attached, no details given, just vague character criticisms, repeated enough times to take on a life of their own. And that's when Jason Kelce stepped in. On the New Heights podcast, Jason made it clear, he wasn't buying the narrative. He said the way people were talking about Shedeur reminded him of how media and front offices sometimes create their own stories, ones that have more to do with perception than performance. If you're going to call a kid entitled, Jason said, then say what actually happened. Don't hide behind anonymous sources. His brother Travis agreed. He said, if teams are leaking this stuff just to justify why they passed on him, that says more about them than it does about the player. The Kelce brothers weren't just defending Shedeur. They were sending a warning to the Browns, to the league, to anyone shaping narratives behind closed doors. Don't let gossip define your player. And yet that's exactly what seemed to happen. By the time the draft ended, Shedeur Sanders, a player many had mocked in the top 3 rounds, had fallen all the way to pick number 144. The Cleveland Browns took a chance on him in the 5th round, calling it a value pick. But fans saw it differently. To many, it looked like a punishment. Now, a few months into his NFL journey, Shedeur's situation is complicated. Joe Flacco is still the starter. Rookie Dillon Gabriel is the immediate backup. And Shedeur, he's sitting 3rd on the depth chart, rarely seeing game reps. His development shrouded in silence. Coach Kevin Stefanski keeps repeating the same line, we're developing him the right way. But what does that actually mean? For some Browns fans, it sounds like patience. For others, it sounds like a polite way of saying, we don't trust him yet. Especially after reports surfaced that Shedeur turned down the chance to be a backup behind Lamar Jackson. Deion Sanders himself admitted it. Teams like the Ravens and Eagles called about drafting him, but Shedeur wanted a clearer path to becoming the guy. He chose Cleveland because he believed it was the fastest route to a starting role. But that path is looking steeper by the day. The pressure around him is unlike anything most rookies face. Shedeur isn't just any quarterback. He's Deion Sanders' son. Every word he says, every expression he makes on the sideline, it's clipped, posted, and dissected online within hours. And the thing is, Shedeur knows it. He's grown up with cameras in his face. For better or worse, he's been trained to control his image, to move like a brand. But that's also where the tension begins. To some old-school football people, confidence looks like arrogance. To others, composure looks like entitlement. And when you're the son of a legend, those perceptions get magnified tenfold. So now, Shedeur's stuck in a strange place. He's in the NFL, but not yet trusted. He's part of the Browns, but not yet leading them. Every week that passes without a chance to prove himself, the media builds a little more pressure. And that's why Jason Kelce's comments hit harder than most people realized. Because behind his words was experience, the kind that comes from years of watching how the league really works. He's seen organizations destroy promising players by mishandling development, by letting the noise get louder than the coaching, by letting the headlines drive decisions instead of tape. And what he's warning the Browns about is simple. Don't do to Shedeur what too many teams have done before. Turn a story into a self-fulfilling prophecy. The truth is, Shedeur's situation in Cleveland is fragile. One injury, one bad game from Flacco or Gabriel, and suddenly his number could be called. But if that moment comes too early, without full trust or preparation, it could break him before he even gets a fair shot. On the other hand, wait too long and the league moves on. New draft class, new prospects, new headlines. In the NFL, timing is everything, and right now, Shedeur's clock is ticking quietly in the background. Deion Sanders, though, isn't panicking. He's said multiple times that his son just needs the right moment, not the quickest one. That patience will pay off, and that when Shedeur finally steps onto the field, he'll prove everyone wrong in one game. But patience is hard when your name is already a brand, and your every move is news. It's hard when fans want instant results, and your critics already made up their minds before you even take your first snap. And that's what makes this story deeper than football. It's about image. It's about how fast opinions spread. And it's about what happens when a player's personality becomes more important than his play. Shedeur Sanders is walking a thin line between spotlight and shadow, between being the next breakout quarterback or the next cautionary tale. And if Jason Kelce's words mean anything, it's that the Browns have to decide which story they're going to write. Because the way they handle him, how they talk about him, protect him, and trust him could determine everything. Maybe Shedeur proves them all wrong. Maybe he sits quietly, keeps developing, and when the time comes, explodes onto the scene with that calm, icy poise that made him famous in college. Or maybe he becomes another talented player caught in a swirl of bad timing, mixed signals, and unfair judgment. Either way, his story is far from over. What's happening in Cleveland right now isn't just about a rookie quarterback. It's about the modern NFL itself, an era where narratives form faster than film can correct them, where personality can be a penalty, and where one moment, one drive, one throw, one headline can rewrite a career. Jason Kelce knows it, Travis knows it, Deion knows it. The question is, do the Browns? Because when your player's confidence starts getting shaped by rumors instead of results, you're no longer developing a quarterback. You're developing a story. And the story of Shedeur Sanders is still being written. The only question left, who's holding the pen?